I mean, when you're acquiring digital assets, what are the things that you should be concerned about? I'm speaking now, not the sentimental value, because we know that digital assets do have a lot of sentimental value. But if you're looking at owning digital asset as part of your asset mix, and all that, what would you advise that families of wealth do, or individuals of wealth do?
Well, I'm going to come at it from two different perspectives. One is the purchasing of digital assets or ownership of them. And then the other will be the business perspective of them, because there's a whole nother world that most people don't consider. So most people are familiar with purchasing NFTs or owning them. The same with crypto. The same can be with investment portfolios, having online trading accounts. And those we have to protect, because we have to protect them from a visibility point of view. If nobody knows that those accounts exist, then time will pass. And depending on what type of account it is, they could be official money transmitters, and then the contents will be treated as abandoned property. Or in many cases, they could be within a game. You could invest $100,000 in artifacts in a game, but that game is not legally recognized as a financial institution, and thereby never turns over that asset as abandoned property down the road. We also have to think about international jurisdictions. If I buy crypto or NFTs and I store them on an exchange based in the United States, but I'm not aware of it because I just buy and I place it, I don't read the terms of service, so I don't know what laws they'll follow. Well, now I have another issue that I need to plan for that I'm just ignorant to, because I just assume that I'm going to buy this virtual sword or this NFT. And the same thing with the metaverse. Metaverse is typically based in California, and thereby has to follow California fiduciary laws. And that means following the fiduciary access law. And it's not just about the asset within, but how do you gain accessibility? After you know that the account is visible and you're aware of it, that doesn't mean you automatically get access to it. Unless you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that there is financial matter in it, most content providers will not release the contents because of privacy policies or privacy laws. So that you have to prepare for that. And in the US, there are fiduciary access laws that call out those requirements. Typically, it includes a username tied to the URL, tied to the account holder, who is tied to the decedent, and then there has to be a directive of who can access the account. So we have a lot of issues around financial matter. Now, if it's a regular financial trading firm like a Fidelity or a fund that might be with TIA CREF, then it's going to be a little bit easier. But the key is going to know, is that account visible? Are people aware of it? Because it may not be visible till abandoned properties kick in and it gets posted and is sheeted to the jurisdiction. On the other side of the fence is something that's even becoming much more harmful, particularly to the high net worths who own businesses. And that is because they're aware that when those terms of service agreements are signed for and agreed to, it typically is done by an individual. Even if they're an employee of the company, those agreements are done as individuals. And we've seen here in Canada where that person has passed away and the business owner goes to claim their domain name and their host provider that has all of the contents of their business, their customers, their communications, and GoDaddy and others have said, well, we can't give you that because your business didn't sign the terms of service agreements. It was assigned by the individual, and show me where they then turn around and assigned it to the business. And so what ends up happening is businesses lose their domain name and have been told by issuers, you have to wait till it expires and bid against it in the open market to get it back. But that doesn't guarantee all the contents. And so what we need to do is protect the entire ecosystem. So the email services, both internal and external, the contents, the security, the privacy maintenance programs, payment methods, banking transmission processes, and the domain names have to be secured. You can imagine if you have a domain name that runs a business that's worth, let's say, $20 million, and it expires and somebody picks it up on a service for $10.99. Well, now they can extort that business, and it has happened already, for money just to get back the domain name. And you can just imagine now something simple like not paying attention to subscription expirations and data auto deletion policies can completely bankrupt an organization and an individual. Now, you mentioned FTX. Here in Canada, we had a bigger problem. We had, well, I don't know if it's bigger, but we had an exchange, Quadriga CX, that the owner of the crypto exchange was in India, and he died while traveling. So there was no proven fraud. There was some speculation. And when he died, he had the only key to the exchange. So all of the account holders lost their assets. All of the investors lost their investments. And we just saw a total collapse. It didn't just stop there. Then there were class action lawsuits by account holders and investors. And it ended up going back into the family, where the family lost money. And the only thing they were allowed to keep were $90,000 in a Jeep. So it's, if you don't plan, and as many have alluded to, we must be intentional, because if you don't plan, the pitfalls can be more than just loss. It can have ripple effects that go into the family and into investors and into clients as well. So we have to be much more aware of our financial assets and how we do them, whether we do it online or offline, have to make our estates know what our wishes are, make sure they're declared, and make sure we have the appropriate identifying information to create the links, so those content providers can know confidently they're not passing on contents or assets to a cyber criminal.